9 out of 10 American businesses are family-owned and controlled. They are easy to start, they are hard to manage, and nearly impossible to transfer inside the family.
Please welcome author of the best-selling family business book of all time, Dr. Tom Deans.
I was born into a family business, as was my father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. That's all I know. I was lucky, though. I was, at a very early age, introduced to a concept that is counterintuitive and counterculture. Before I joined our family business at the tender age of 37, having had a career in banking first, my father had a long conversation inside our facilitated family meeting. There's a crazy idea. And that idea is really simple. Before I got into that business, he showed me how we were going to get out. I thought a lot of people do this. I was a voracious reader of family business books while I was sitting in the corner office running our family business. And every single one of those books never resonated with me because they all carried that traditional message that the job of a family business owner, founder, is to scale that business, invite your family into that business, and then do what? Continue it. Built to last. Old is good. Fourth generation family business? Well, clearly more successful than a third. Third, more successful than the second. Old is good. You measure the success of a family business not in profits or in earnings. No, you measure it in generations. And that wasn't my experience. My great-grandfather sold his business. My grandfather sold his business. The business that I joined at age 37, the business that I ran for 8 years as CEO, is the business that we sold on February 8th, 2007. It was at 4:30 in the afternoon. It's hilarious. Ask business owners what their exit date was. They'll tell you the time. One of the toughest questions I get that I have to answer honestly, people say, do you miss the business? Do you miss selling it? And really what I want to say is, are you kidding me? That was the best day of my life. I love that business, don't get me wrong, but the deal that we took, we sold to a strategic. We had 2 other competitors. We were number 2 in market share, number 3 bought us, and they became the new number 1. That deal was a phenomenal deal. It wasn't just a great deal for my father, who was the controlling shareholder, although I was buying shares. I'm going to share a little bit more about that. But that was a transformational deal. It didn't really change my parents' financial trajectory. They had enough. But it certainly changed mine. I was 45 and had a liquidity event. That money from that deal was going to change our children's lives and even the unborn. I was a voracious reader of those family business books, and we had always sold. So by every measure, we were a failed family business. We were a failed family because we have never transitioned a business to the next generation. We have never gifted a business to the next generation for free. And so I agreed to stay and transition the business into the hands of the new owners. I agreed to stay for a year. Really, about after 6 days, I was driving them nuts. I don't know if you know this, but family make terrible employees. Terrible. We don't take direction very well. I still thought I owned the place, still thought I ran the place. Anyway, after 6 months, they said, listen, would you go home? It was very hurtful. But I did. I went home, and they paid me out for the next 6 months. But I went home. I played golf for 14 consecutive days, didn't move my handicap at all, gave up the dream of joining the senior tour, and started to write a book called Every Family's Business. 18 years ago. 2 weeks ago, that book just joined the Forbes bestseller list. This book will not die. I've got 2 other books. I thought when you write a second book, the first book dies. Oh, no. I'm going to have to take that book out behind the shed like Old Yeller and put it down. It will not die. And why is it doing so well 18 years later? Because it is the only book that says you should never gift a family business to your children. They need to buy it at full market value based on a third-party valuation. No one wrote that book. No one. We have a situation in this country where 137 million American adults don't have a will. Half of all business owners don't have a will. If you're a fan of Covey and you like beginning with the end in mind, the end is kind of your death. It's my favorite of his 7 habits. It's beautiful. As CEPAs, you want to begin with the end in mind? Ask your business owner clients or prospects when the last time they updated their will. Don't ask if they have a will. Ask them when they last updated it. And if they look at their shoes, you already have the answer. They don't have one. More than one billionaire will die in this country this year intestate. If they don't have a will, here's a newsflash. They do not have an exit plan. Oh, they can talk all sorts and make all sorts of promises about their plans. And listen, there's about 20% of the population, business owners, who suffer from a personality disorder. It's a subject of my third book, Narcissistic Personality Disorders, that attract CEOs. CEOs and the lawyers in the room will tell you that business is about control. You either have it or you don't. You don't kind of have it. You have it. You got more than 50% of the shares. You got definitive control. CEOs are attracted to businesses because it's a great place to exercise control. There are a lot of CEOs in this business, and you're going to bump into them. 90% of business in this country are family-owned and controlled. You are in the family business space. I don't know if you know this, but you are, whether you like it or not. And if I do my job well in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to teach you how to speak a new language called family business. And it is a unique language all into its own. Most of these business owners, their plan is, I'll give you a hint. It's to do, oh yeah, absolutely nothing. They'll talk a great game. They'll pick a number. They'll exit when they get this number, whether it's their age or some kind of sale price. Listen, they're full of you know what. The reality is they go to the oldest page in the playbook, which is do nothing, semi-retire, go to Palm Springs, come to Florida, play some golf when the snow flies, come back in April, drive the kids crazy for a couple of years. That was the way it used to go down. That would go on for about, retire at 65, so that would go on for about 7 years. Then at age 72, they would have a heart attack and die. Guess what? Things have changed. Here's the good news part of my speech. People are living longer. Business owners are living vastly longer. You see, death used to be the triggering event for the intergenerational transition of a family business. If you were the rising generation, you just had to wait for someone to die. And then you got voting control. Well, guess what? It ain't working. That business owner now doesn't retire at 65, they retire at 68. We've pushed that date out. They still go to Palm Springs in Florida, they still play golf, still come back, drive their kids crazy, still have heart attacks. Guys, we're still having heart attacks at age 72. Guess what now? We get a stent, we run 4 marathons, we go into our 90s. We're going forever, and we're not relinquishing control. We got children in their 50s and 60s not looking for clarity around how the equity is going to change hands and when and under what conditions. Oh no. These are a rising generation that are just looking for permission to retire. They've already given up the dream of owning. It is not working. The old idea, the old narrative is that my business is my legacy, built to last. My greatest work of art, says the founder, is my business. It's what I'll be remembered for. No, you won't. No, you won't. The reality is our greatest legacy is our family. And that is often lost sight. We lose sight of that. But as practitioners, you need to understand that there is an extraordinary amount of suffering going on inside family businesses, and you'll never have a whiff of it because families are private and they are fabulous at projecting absolute calm and just BS. When advisors hire me, I don't mean in Chicago, New York, I mean in Cedar Rapids, and I was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota last year. When I go into communities and I'm doing client events, I start my speech by saying, in this room, there are parents who think their children are going to buy the business, and next gens who think their parents are going to gift it, and no one knows how to start the conversation. I'm like a cudgel. I'm like the blunt instrument of exit planning. I come into communities, I stir it up, I have the hard conversations, and I usually leave it at the back door. Like, seriously, it's a great reminder that if you're digging anything that I'm talking about, yeah, please do not call me. That's not what I do. This is what I do. I do it a lot. I do it 2,000 times in 28 countries. Wherever I give the speech in Kuala Lumpur, I don't have to change anything. These are universal themes. Families, as I said in the intro, easy to start a family business. Super hard to manage. Try exiting a business when you've got your children deriving an income and a lifestyle from a business. How do you sell your business without selling your family and destroying your relationships? Business owners, founders especially, paint themselves into a corner. They have no idea how to get out. And these business owners will waste your time. They will waste your time, and they will believe, particularly if they're covert narcissists, they will leave you believing that you have no idea what you're doing, that you're the problem. And my comments to you is, it's not you. There are some people who want help, and there are other people who will talk about how they want help, but they will never take you up on your offer. Move on. Move on. Why is this important? And I know what I'm talking about. I still do it myself. I watch my father, grandfather, and great-grandfather do. What do business owners do when they finally turn a profit? After years of struggling and taking on debt and investing in a dream, building something that never existed, their business, what do? They pull their profits out and buy a Porsche? What do? They pump it back into the business year after year after year, decade after decade, 30 years. They become their own lenders, under-leveraged balance sheets. They fund their own inventory, their own receivables. They do it habitually. Why do they do it? Because there has always been something more intoxicating in the world of family businesses than just making more money. What are they really chasing? Control. When you have an under-leveraged balance sheet and you lose one of your biggest customers, and you're not even close to triggering your covenants and your banking agreements, and the phone doesn't ring, these are really fun businesses to run. There is no urgency to do anything. And no one tells you how to get up in the morning and how to run your day, build your week, build your life. You are in control, and it is an awesome feeling. I ran one of those businesses. The only problem is, it's not a bad strategy when you're in your 20s and 30s. It's a well-worn path to creating wealth in this country. It's you start a business. You concentrate your wealth in one asset. The problem is when you move into your 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s, and you've got the majority of your wealth wrapped up in one illiquid stock called your family business, you are in a very, very sad, scary, dangerous place. And that's who needs your help. I don't have a lot of time, but I want to share a very, very brief story. I did a national radio phone-in show. When you do those types of events, you generate a lot of email traffic, phone calls. I take a phone call the next day from a billionaire. And he says, we're a family in transition, which is always code for we're seriously screwed up. And he says, can you help us? I said, look, it's not what I do. Seriously, call Amy Wirtz. Like, she can do this. She can have a facilitated family meeting. The answer's in the room, and she can tease out the answer that's right for that family. It's not a cookie cutter. It's the answer's in the room. But he's persistent. And I said, fine, I'll meet with you. Because I'm curious. I know that the 12 questions in my book, Every Family's Business, work with small and medium-sized businesses, but I really am curious to see if they work with a really large family business. Anyway, I agreed to meet with this dude. I'm escorted to this magnificent boardroom, oak-paneled boardroom, stunning, breathtaking, beautiful art. And in comes this old guy. He's hunched over, and he's shuffling in, and he's waving my book. And he starts to tell me a little bit about his business. And I said, look, hang on, before you go much further, why don't you invite your son in and we can have this conversation together? And he looks at me and he says, I am the son. My 95-year-old father will be here shortly. You can't make this stuff up. Dad wheels in the wheelchair, and we spend the next hour going through the 12 questions, and I can't go through the 12 questions. I just don't have enough time. In fact, I'm like really low on time. Here's the short version. We get to question number 2, and question number 2 it goes to Dad, the voting. He's got control. He's got voting control. I said, here's the question. Are you prepared to sell this business, yes or no? Long pause, long pause, long pause. Finally, he chokes out an answer. He says, no. I say, fine, I'm not here to judge. I go to Junior, question number 3 in the book. Would you risk your capital with the view of acquiring control? Yes or no? He goes, yes. This is bizarre, because most rising gens really don't want to pay for the business. Certainly not at full market value. They want a discount, or they don't want it. They just like their job and they like the lifestyle. This guy wants it, and he wants to buy it at full market value. So this is really an interesting wrinkle. I go back to Dad and I say, I'm just curious. Why don't you want to sell? And he says, well, I'm the founder. It's all I know. I would have nowhere to go. I love this business. And Junior goes, what are you talking about? I would actually insist that you stay. You're the institutional memory. The lenders love you. You're the face of the business, the brand. And then Dad goes, could I keep my office? And Junior goes, oh, of course you could. You could even be honorary chairman of the board. Are you ready for this? Dad goes, oh, I'll sell. And I'm thinking, how long has there been a buyer and seller in this family business, but no one knew how to start the conversation? Folks, you're in the conversation starting business. You don't have the answers. You can't have the answers. When you go in with a plan, with all the answers, you're stealing something authentic from that family. The answer is always in the room, and it's your job to find it. And the chances are that that next generation doesn't love that business enough to risk their capital. In our family, I was able to participate, had some upside by selling that business and staying. I was buying shares in my father's business based on a third-party valuation. I was buying shares 7 years before I joined as an employee. After 5 years of buying shares, he put me on the board of directors. 2 years later, he hired me as CEO. Shareholder first, director second, employee third. We do it all backwards. But I'm stepping into that corner office. That's not going to be the Tom Dean's legacy project. All I got to do is mail it in, be a little overpaid. Not in our family. That's my job, to create value, to continue to risk capital, buy that business, use dividends, reinvest them. My father taught me all that stuff. No. That's my business, to grow it or buy it, or it's my job to create value and sell it. And we don't get weepy and sentimental about our family businesses. They're not our pet. It's not our friend or our community. It is an instrument of wealth creation that goes up in value or down in value. And that's what I was taught, and that's what I wrote, and that's why this book will not die. I got to wrap up. I could go for hours. I'm going to be at the back of the room. We have some books left over from the author showcase. They're free. Read this book. Do your own work. Write your own. Here's my will. Anyone want to touch it? Studies show, I don't know if you know this, if you write a will, hold a will, certainly carry it around with you, I don't know, studies show that you will die. Do your own work. Write your own will. Share a copy of your will with your clients and prospects. Make this normal and familiar. Talk about the stuff that no one wants to talk about. Go to the places that feel awkward and dark. That's where the silence is. That's where the awkwardness is. That's where you can add value. That's where you're going to create your deal flow. Go get them, Tiger. Thank you.